Thank you very much, Caleris. Super excited to get into it. Our Cinderella story here, Todd, coming out of our Zerg player, a legend, a blast from the past, as it were. Perhaps a return to some former glory for a fellow Frenchman.
That would be fantastic to see, but obviously we can only be skeptical because even though he's looked really good so far, I don't think he's gone up against the higher tier of players. And guys like SpeCial are here to show that they're the new guys in charge here in the WCS circuit.
I'm very excited to see that. I love Kevin mentioning him getting some early sleep. Very excited. I think this is one of those interesting matches. No way to know for certain what's going to happen. We are loaded in, ladies and gentlemen. Kicking things off on train in the bottom right, we have the blue Terran player, the foreign Terran leader. He is SpeCial. And his opponent in the northwest, a former champion of many a tournament. Give a round of applause for Stephano!
I feel like there's something different about SpeCial this tournament. He's looked absolutely unfazed through everything. He went easily through his match up against Haz. And even now on stage, did you see that? He didn't even stop while shaking Stephano's hand. He just kind of like walked right past him, shook his hand. Kind of like, you know, in a Maru-esque fashion.
He's ascended to his final form for this tournament. You know,
that would be pretty scary.
Most of the discussion around WCS, Global Finals, it's pretty much all set in stone unless Stephano makes the sickest miracle run that we'll have seen at a WCS event like this. Of course, let's not forget players like Cyril and Rainer are still there. And pretty much every player that has been interviewed has said that they are okay with finishing at whatever place they would be if they hit Cyril. So the interesting question, of course, becomes on this side of the bracket, who is going to get to that point?
Yeah.
And for all of these players, much more realistic possibility for that second place. It's really just about getting the guts and the glory and that prize money here in Montreal.
They've reached the stage of acceptance,
yes,
if you will.
Yeah, it's truly terrifying when you think about how good everybody's become in the foreign circuit, but literally they're all just like, yeah, no, I'm going to hit Cyril and lose, and that's fine. It's like, yeah, but you're playing like some of the best StarCraft you've played all year, last year and a half. It's like, nah, it's whatever.
I mean, Cyril has just been so incredible. Really only Rainer has been able to stop him.
You're the MMA champion, but now you have to fight Batman. I'm sorry. It's just, it's like, well, you know, you could win whatever you want, but that's not a 1v1 anybody wants to take. So we're going to get into this, and the factory is done for SpeCial. This is where the game gets paused because I was about to go into the super crazy breakdown, and thankfully Stephano is trying to save us from that. Hopefully everything's okay.
I like what they talked about on the desk, Roddy in particular. He said that, you know, Stephano's known for not doing a crazy amount of scouting and all that, and like it's going to be interesting to see what SpeCial has prepared for that, if anything, and how much Stephano actually scouts, you know, in terms of, you know, you don't have to expect drones and lings like super early, no, but like in terms of like how much effort does he put towards sending any overlords in to really see exactly what he's playing against. And if SpeCial tries to punish, I feel like, you know, Rotti was like kind of talking about SpeCial might try to do something about that, and then Stephano's already thinking about what Stephano's gonna do, and then he's gonna react to that. But I feel like actually neither player will try to adjust too much, like because they are both so confident in their own style. They have absolute belief that their own style and just being able to play their best should be enough to win this series here.
No, I totally agree, and I think that's one of the most interesting things about the way that Stephano played, because we started this WCS fall with the Stephano playing against Terran, and his style was odd, honestly. Versus Bio, he went for the insane, ludicrous Mass Ling Bane and didn't do anything else until he got all the way to the Hive Tech and wanted to get a few Broodlords to punch it in. But I think trying to play that brawler style, to me, it makes playing Bio scary because we saw lots of harass. I believe it was Uthermal that he played against at the start. A lot of Bio harass, getting out there, doing some damage, but the way that he played, he just kind of took it, you know? It was like one of those alien monsters in a horror movie. They try to shoot it, and it just eats all the bullets and absorbs them.
Yeah.
Spits them right back out at you. It's like, well...
And they're still shooting, actually, every time that happens.
Yeah.
I'm always like, it didn't work the first time. What do you think is going to Make it
So
work.
we'll see. Maybe for special, you play mech and bring out the flamethrowers. You know, maybe that's the solution. Overlord is going to scout this
Yeah,
game.
so he's at least sending in the first Overlord here to check what he's up against.
Yeah, committing it. And I think at least something that probably shouldn't be avoided is these Hellions are going to come into the natural expansion, committing a little bit. I mean, Link Speed's not done for another 10 seconds, so being able to pick up some drones, it's only 4 Hellions in the Reaper, so I think if you can get, I would say 4 or 5. If you can get 5 or more drones, then you're really, really happy. This is an awesome pickoff for special. Really nice start here for the Terran. This is exactly what you want out of this type of move, especially if he can save both of the Hellions. I think one of them might die on the tail end, but still very well done to start this off. The Banshee follow-up would keep him safe against anything like Ravagers or a Roach sort of follow-up. And the Lair is only just now going to start for Stephano, so it's not like there's a fast tech. There's no Spore Crawler here.
Oh my God.
So as Cloak finishes, this Banshee should be able to get a little bit of work done. An extra 2 worker pickoffs there is really nice. But kind of see how Stephano, he's just taking all of that. He's like, well, I'm just going to keep cranking out drones. He's still got a pretty sizable worker lead as the 3rd command center has only just started for special. So it's so crazy how he can just kind of take all of that and still be economically not behind. Maybe not as far ahead as he would like to be, though.
Yeah, absolutely. How many drones have died so far? I feel like Special has been the one kind of running the show. 14 in total.
For 3 Hellions and a Reaper.
8 Lings as well.
Seems good. So Special going for Hyperflight Rotors. He wants to make this into a Banshee speed build. Okay, no, he changed his mind. Never mind. I was about to compliment him. I was about to say I actually like this because Stephano didn't go for Aspire in any of the TvZs that we saw earlier, even against between the Bio or the Mech. So I was
But he does go for a ton of Queens.
see it.
And he has Spores.
I think the Speed Banshees can punish it a little bit. Okay, he starts it again now. Like I said, I think this is a...
So like
I think I think he deliberately wants to do it against Stephano because the thing on this map is you do have some space between like that 3rd base and the natural. You can kind of tuck yourself there.
Yeah.
And as good as Queens are, they still don't fly, right? You know,
Well, they shoot pretty far, I guess.
They do shoot pretty far, but the Banshees with the speed upgrade are able to get around very easily. And once you get to 4 Banshees and you're 2-shotting Queens, you're going to be able to pick through them, even if they're trying to go for those transfuses at a pretty decent pace, or at least, you know, snipe some tech here, move out there. And this build becomes stronger as you approach the mid game because the Zerg wants to get a 4th base, and then they start to stretch themselves out even more. The only thing you really don't want to do is lose those Banshees. We have Roaches coming out for Stephano. He's going to hit with Hellbats at the 3rd at the same time, and I really like this build just because those Banshees are also going to be able to help on the defense if he goes for a Roach counterattack. These drones, though, need to get away from the Hellbats. A few of them getting roasted by that mineral patch. He's so close to getting some big shots off.
Doesn't quite get there. That was really close here. Just kills the 2 drones. Stephano is down 66 drones against the 52 SCVs of Special, but like you said, it's very difficult to counterattack with a ton of Roaches because there's going to be Banshees ready there for the defense. Stephano, though, able to crease spread for now here. I mean, this is not like the biggest map, so if he can get, you know, towards the center and even start edging towards the Terran side, it's going to be a lot of not only information, but actual speed for his units that he's going to be able to have additionally.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for Stephano to get out on the map if those Banshees aren't caught out of position, because as you said, the Banshees are going to be good against them, but he's actually not going for battle mech. He's building siege tanks. For me, this feels like Special wants to build up to one of those classic, like almost Wings of Liberty-esque big tank Hellion pushes.
I think you realize that Stephano really wants to attack right now. Stephano is on 66 drones, and I think because of the amount of drones that he lost, he decided to go on the offensive. Special realized that he's building a massive wall here with an E-base, some depot. He's going to try and land the barracks. That's why he's going to tanks as well here.
And it's still going to be interesting to try to make this work. Only 3 Queens to try and be the anti-air against the Banshees. If he can get through those Queens, the Banshees at worst should be able to clean most of this up. 3 of them is still a lot of firepower, but the siege tanks are getting chewed away at. The Hellbats not doing fantastically against those Roaches, trying to buy a little bit of space. The Biles actually hitting the splash damage there. And is Stephano's push actually working against Banshee tank? He's starting to crush it with Roach Ravager. This shouldn't be working, Yohan, but he's got himself 100 supply lead. A lot of that is in Roaches, but you've unseated a Terran mech player's 3rd base, and all of a sudden, what looked like it should have been fine. He's going for tanks and Banshees. Should have been great against Roach Ravager, but Stephano able to land the biles when he needed it and just hitting this timing right before he gets up to that number of siege tanks he needs to start one-shotting these clumps of roaches.
In a matchup where everybody would agree Stephano was not going to be the favorite here, but SpeCial would be the overwhelming one. SpeCial started great, killed a whole bunch of drones, but now it's Stephano with the one unit that helped him so much in the past, achieve great results. The roach, he's going to go forward, and he's got so much. The soup does not lie, Nathanias.
Yeah, he does get the Overseer in that siege mode to spot the tank on the high ground, and he is just going to continue to bust on through. And that's it. He's only got 33 SCVs and 3 Banshees. GG, Stephano draws first blood to kick off Championship Sunday at WCS Fall. Johan, I have no idea what I just saw. Banshees, tanks, some Hellbats to soak. That's really all
Roach Fest.
That's really all you should need against the Roach Fest. But Stephano gets a decent spread, and even just a handful of queens there. Takes those drone losses in stride, and as you said, he decides he's just going to try and make a big attack because he took all of that damage, and that caught me off guard. I mean, it's one of those moves where you're like, you shouldn't, on paper, this type of composition has a really hard time against tanks and Banshees for the limited anti-air. You don't have a ton of queens at that pace. No
towards
mutas,
the
no
center,
hydras.
it wasn't the biggest rush distance. So the fact that he was able to bring the queens really zoned out those Banshees and dealt with them super well. So that made the attack a lot better than it would have been otherwise. And Stephano, I mean, he's playing the game on another level here.
Yeah.
Just keeping it simple, roaches, and I don't think too many people looked at this attack thinking it was gonna necessarily be that scary, but it's honestly looked easy. Like after he killed the third base, he had double the supply of SpeCial, and apparently
the clinical term for the situation is he dumpstered him there. And I would say that if I was SpeCial, I'm a little bit surprised that my opponent tries to make that attack, because as a Terran player, when I'm thinking about the units that I want, you're vulnerable when you try to follow up with like Mag, Field, and Blue Flame, like trying to go battle mech. Like, yeah, a lot of roaches with speed are going to be able to really make it hard because that's not a good defensive composition, but he was already going into tanks. And you're like, man, if this attack had hit like 20 seconds later, if he just hesitates for even a moment, he's going to have 2 or 3 more tanks, another Banshee, and suddenly you're one-shotting those clumps of the roaches behind the wall. And the Ravagers aren't able to come up and get the biles. But when there's only those 2 tanks, you're going to need multiple volleys to get through that. I think the biles really came in spades for him.
The big Hellbats attack on the third base was maybe the problem for SpeCial. He only killed 2 drones, and he lost a lot of his units that would have helped defensively kind of slow down the roach intrusion from getting on top of those tanks and really killing them. But that was a perfectly timed attack here. Like if he had waited just a minute longer, there would have been so many tanks. It would have been much harder for this to work. Let's see if this was a one-time occurrence or if this man here can fight back. Starting in the top left-hand side here of Acropolis, playing as the Blue Terran. He comes from Mexico. It is SpeCial.
Lots of cheers from the crowd as we get off to an exciting match. I mean, the story for this WCS was about dreams and hopes being locked in. Only one man stands in the way of those who have clawed their way to the top 8. He is in the bottom right, in red. He is Stephano.
The dream is alive for Stephano here.
I think as this tournament has progressed, we joked about it on the desk yesterday, but Stephano in WCS since his quote-unquote retirement, right? Before he came back to playing competitively in the circuit and hitting up these cafes on Acropolis, he was, we kind of talked about how he just wasn't in that same old form, right? And it's been a topic of conversation that we're like, will we see occasionally the old Flair, he'll upset someone, but then he'll drop out in like the round of 16 and be like, oh, wow, he had a really great group stage 3, finished in second place, but then drops out in the first round of 16. But here he is in the top 8 with a lead over SpeCial, who has been one of the most improved players we talk about, him being inconsistent. And SpeCial, you said it actually right at the start of this match, is he has just been on point. He hasn't been making big mistakes. He's been playing very crisp. He's been playing very clean. And Stephano he's had a lot of runs through Terrence. I feel like he's also just figured this matchup out really nicely, because it's just so unusual that a player at this late in the year, he's just started to bloom out of nowhere. And he's like, well, theoretically, if he can play to this level,
Y'all must have forgot.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing is it brings a little bit of that. Ooh, don't lose that SUV. It brings a little bit of that twinkle back in a StarCraft fan's eye when they see Stephano in the top 8 of a tournament looking like this. He's not just like cheesing or baneling busting his way in, and like you're like, oh my God, can't believe SpeCial miscontrolled his units. It's like no, Stephano is. He is styling on kids here.
Roti mentioned it a couple times. The 3 best non-Korean players of all time are Stephano, Neeb, and Cyril. Now they're all here in the top 8. In fact, Stephano, the only player not to be in that top 8 WCS circuit standings. And it is showtime, that is. But it is showtime that will be on the threat here if Stephano were to win this tournament. But obviously, we're not just playing for points here. There is still $100,000 on the line. And quite a big chunk of that goes into the finalist and the winner in particular. So you want to get that win here.
For everybody else at this tournament now, it's all about the WCS points. For Stephano, for everyone else at the tournament, it's all about the money and the placement of this tournament. But for Stephano,
it's about both.
It's about both. He's got the big dream, and I mean that's I hate to say it. I don't want to go into the Castle Curse territory, but man, he's been showing a little bit of magic here. So this Overlord is going to poke in. And one of the interesting things, people talk about like, well, trying to follow the best players. Cyril in his ZVTs throughout the last season of Challenger and a good bit through, I believe, his matches in GSL versus World as well. He's been favoring Overlord speed. Got to see it, a good amount of usage of that, especially after the buff in it in the Challenger finals. Scouting has been really important against Terran. Terran's biggest strength versus Zerg right now is that you have so many options. And how do you say this one in Montreal, Johan? Would it be the Core Le Fusion?
Actually, I'm not even sure in French. I play with the English game.
So we do see what will inevitably be a battle cruiser rush out of SpeCial. This is not a map that you can really do the ranged Liberator memes on. You can kind of try, but nobody really does that. The battle cruiser serves that very tanky scouting, but also guaranteed damage if you just teleport it in, focus down some drones. With how Stephano's been playing, I really like SpeCial's build choice. I don't think there was anything wrong with what he did in the last game. It was just Stephano hit this really sharp timing, but he sees this, and he's been avoiding getting a Spire. And I do think that unless he immediately preps to do some huge all-in right now, he's going to be forced into getting some more dedicated anti-air because he's been skipping on it.
Roti mentioned how much Stephano loves his queens, spreading creep and also having that as, anti-air back at home. Apparently seems to hit the comfort zone. And I mean, if we look at the production tab, he's already got the Baneling Nest. He's going for double Evo. It's really looking like he wants to focus on getting Link Banes for the grounds and maybe just have a lot of queens to deal with the air. Look, 2 more queens start. He's choosing the other route, the non-Spire route here, as he keeps on spreading that creep here in the center of the map.
So he's going to do a Hellbat attack with this battle cruiser, and I guess if the Banelings can get the Hellbats, then the Queen should be able to shoot down the BC. But as long as SpeCial isn't too greedy with the battle cruiser, since there's no Spire, it should be impossible to lose the battle cruiser. That's the entire point of this build. You can teleport it in, focus down a few drones, get out. The Queens have all been pulled to the front. Battle cruiser is done. Just going to focus down some of the drones in the natural like we were talking about. And this is the opportunity for SpeCial to try and build up that momentum. Your big concerns are going to be counterattacks. You have to make sure that as you're throwing these Hellions away, it's actually quite easy to overcommit with the BC rush like this. If the Zerg player has a lot of Zerglings and you throw those, he actually just took a huge, he just lost almost all of his Hellbats to a Baneling there. And if you lose these Hellions and you're trying to land that 3rd command center right now, you are really setting yourself up for a world of hurt. And Stephano starts the first Spire that I've actually seen him go for before he had a Hive in this tournament because, well, frankly speaking, the battle cruisers are going to become a giant problem.
And he's going for melee +1 missile, by the way, not quite Carapace here.
That is really interesting. I mean, I can kind of see how you want to get the damage done, but the battle cruiser's damage falls off really hard as you get Carapace upgrades, and Terrans don't rush attack upgrades.
Does he have a Roach Warren? I don't think he does.
He does.
Oh, he does.
He's getting the first Roach down. So he's sending some Hellbats.
Planning a big attack or something?
He cancels the top side. He could try to do one of those like Roach Ravager Corruptor busts, like maybe he wants to, but he doesn't have a ton of money as the Spire gets close. Maybe he's just saving it all right now. I do like the BC coming back in for the poke. Every little thing you can grab here is really nice, even if it's just the extractor. Tactical jump is off cooldown. But that's the advantage, right? If you're not going for any sort of quick Spire play, very easy to save that battlecruiser, get it out. Hellbats are going to roast and toast some Lings, as it burned out a lot of Queen energy. And canceling the 4th is really nice. Being on even bases, a Terran versus a Zerg is always going to be fun. I do get a little bit nervous though, Todd. You see the Cyclones coming out, and you talk about possibilities of like, if he wants to go for an attack or something, it could work if there's a big swell of Corruptors or something that just tries to push this army on the defensive. Cyclone Hellion BC is awesome. It falls off really hard when you have to try and defend with it though.
That's the second BC, right? Because I think he had like the low hit points one.
Yes, it is.
So he's even getting a third one now.
3 is the magic number for these strategies. I believe it was Masa that we saw yesterday who continued to build. Some Terran players will do that. I personally like just trickling them out. As long as you don't lose one, you just keep building them one at a time and that army swells. It's either that or you get 3 battlecruisers. Some of the Koreans, you'll see the single BC build, but when you see Yamato being researched, that's kind of like the, I'm committing to this, you know. I'm not just looking for a 1 BC play. And getting some siege tanks out behind this is really important because you have to be so careful about those counterattacks.
How warm do you feel inside when you see this, a base like this with a bunch of factories and mech and BCs?
It's beautiful, Johan. I feel like I'm looking at one of my replays, but usually I die.
Without the 17 towers like surrounding your main base, right?
Yeah, missing some missile turrets. Okay. Yeah. I love casting with you. So the 3 battlecruisers are going to go around the top side. And this is
Yamato now.
Yeah, he has Yamato. So the key here is that Yamato can one-shot the Corruptors. Now, the cost of repairing a battlecruiser from 1 health to max is about 100 minerals and somewhere around like 69 gas. So if you can Yamato a Corruptor, they're always going to be cost-effective to repair them, and usually you don't go all the way down to 1 health. So the ability to harass and deal damage with this is super, super nice. You always want to target down those Corruptors. They're super expensive. Corruptors are 150 minerals and 100 gas. And then if you want to get a queen, now that the Corruptors are gone, go for it. And just keep focusing and migrating those BCs. They do so much damage. And this actually comes back to the upgrades you were talking about earlier. Without getting Carapace, the BCs actually still do pretty decent damage. Ooh, losing 1 BC, well.
Unacceptable.
I'm going to be writing a letter home to your parents. SpeCial. Oh, my goodness. He did have another one finishing at this moment, so I think we're still at 3. Is it 3 or 4 that he has back home? So 3 BCs is nice. The 5 tanks are actually the most important part of this army because you really don't want the Corruptors to just walk up to you and then like do some big counterattacks. Some players will do this, but they'll try to go up to like 20. We actually saw it yesterday where like 20 Corruptors just show up, they kill the BCs, and you're like, well, you don't actually have anything left. It's just tanks. And then they go caustic spray all the production, which is, if you lose your BCs, it's very easy for the Zerg to do that because you need the tanks to deal with the roaches. If you try to just build Cyclones, then that Roach Ravager army walks up to your 4th base and says, well met, good game.
I wonder if Stephano might just be happy to try and, you know, go into the 5-6 bases stage of the game and into Hive Tech, like, very happily. Like,
yeah,
he's been playing long games for quite a while now. Like, I remember in the Swamos, with the old Swamos, they actually had... Didn't he have a draw once on like King Sejong Station? And like I remember he was just
King
like
Sejong Station, but yes.
Yeah, he was like getting a ton of Swamos all the time and just kind of chilling on his stream and having like only 1-hour games minimum. So he's got a lot of experience here with that. Obviously now the game has changed a lot. We don't see Swamos nearly as much or being used in the same way because they're quite different. But he should be feeling comfortable in the later stages of the game if he can get there with, you know, a lot of Infestors, Broodlords and all that. But SpeCial is moving out with a lot of units there.
This is really well done by SpeCial. The way that the tech has been slowed down because Stephano had to build those Corruptors now going into the Infestors. Ideally, Stephano wants to get Broodlords to deal with all the Cyclone Hellion that's kind of poking, and obviously the siege tanks are going to be very weak against those long-range anti-ground flying units. But without access to those Broodlords, this ground army can really make a sick push. And the Cyclones are really good at also helping to buffer those battlecruisers. So Stephano's going to try and push this army off of the base. BC slowly teleporting out. And the Ravagers are actually not going to be enough to take this. You have to get those Corruptors out of there too, because the Cyclones, if they can lock onto them, the battlecruisers are going to become even more effective. He's building 2 BCs at a time, moving into ship weapons. And this is That's exactly what you want to have happen if you're special. The last thing that you want to do is let the Zerg get up to Broodlords and then be forced into making only air units, because then the game becomes a lot more one-dimensional for the Zerg player. It just ends up leaning on the Infestors and the Corruptors to deal with the BCs. But these siege tanks have been a huge problem for Stephano, and even if he can clean up this siege outside of his base, he's still all taking so much damage, and he's been kept from getting those higher tech units, Todd. So the BCs want to just go fly around the north side and just come down and trim the expansions away. It also allows him to just counterattack through the center of the map. And Stephano, he's gonna have to split his army in a really uncomfortable way.
Yeah, his only real counter to all this stuff is, I guess, if he can get to a whole bunch of Infestors and as Neural Parasite, but the last attack from SpeCial and those trades really prevented that from happening, because Stephano had to replenish, and we see now he's not even maxed out right now. Like, he's struggling to even rebuild his army entirely.
Yeah, the timing that SpeCial hit was perfect, honestly. Stephano's in a really tough position because those BCs are going to be able to do a lot of damage. What is the Corruptor count? We did have Broodlords made, so only two.
Yeah,
only
so there's no Corruptor count, really.
Yeah, Infestors are on the way, but those BCs have plenty of opportunity to get tons of damage, and I think he researched Neural Parasite. Did he get Pathogen Glands? Okay, he did. So he'll have Fungals. If he could land Fungal and get Biles, that's an opportunity. At this point, if I were SpeCial, if you know that the Zerg doesn't have these Corruptors, you just start Yamatoing the Ravagers, because those are actually the biggest threat. Fungal growth is not going to kill your BCs. 9
more Infestors on the way here. Stephano tries to hold on here in map number 2. SpeCial yet again pushing forward here. He's got some tanks on the high ground.
Oh, he's Yamatoing, I think Yamato the Broodlords. There you go. Now your ground army can keep, now those tanks are going to be able to keep the Infestors away too. 2 Infestors die on spawn.
Oh
Now
God.
SpeCial, I think he might have this one in the bag, Todd. This position looks, I don't see a whole lot of ways that this gets broken, because he has to still deal with units on the ground. He can't afford to build enough Corruptors to get rid of the battlecruisers, even with the support of the Infestors, which can't really get to the army. He can wait for the energy to go from Neural Parasite, but even that isn't guaranteed in this Liberator defense. Picking off these units, teleports home, and tries to deny that building command center, but I don't even think he'll get that. He mind controls this one BC, but Fested Terrans and all of that, maybe he kills this one, but...
Yeah, I don't think he even will, because obviously Neural Parasite doesn't last that long. Those tanks finally coming into play as well. Corruptor is going to chase for a little bit, but there is the Battlecruiser.
GG, SpeCial ties the series up 1 apiece.
I think the Battlecruisers could have won this by themselves at this point here.
Yeah.
SpeCial doing what we expected him to here in this series, and this kind of looked like we would have expected this series to go here, aside from game number 1 where Stephano was able to win with a massive Roach Bush.
I really like it. I like it for the same reason that I like SpeCial's build in game 1. Despite that attack that Stephano was able to make, SpeCial's like, you want to rely on Queens as your anti-air. I want to make a more focused air-based strategy. And for the battlecruisers, they were absurdly cost-effective. So much damage was done. And if you're a Zerg player and you want to deal with those BCs, you absolutely, positively cannot just build a handful of Corruptors and be like, well, the Corruptor could kill this, they could kill the Battlecruiser, but when you don't have enough Corruptors to like 2-shot that BC, or even 1-shot, honestly, in the later stages of the game, when they get that big count of Battlecruisers, they're just going to pick you off one by one. Just Yamato, teleport back home. And at that point, the tech becomes more important because you need the Infestor support, and is just not there when the ball gets rolling that early for these BC builds. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of the strength of Terran in this matchup. You really have to be aware of everything, and that's it's got to be a little bit of a frustrating loss.
The French legend taking a moment here before map number 3.
Getting
I think
back into it.
Something that SpeCial did really well last game was keeping the Queens busy with the Hellions.
Yeah.
When he used the tactical jump with the Battlecruiser on the natural, where the Queens were really far away, because he started killing drones from the get-go thanks to that. Even went into the main base, and then it ended up backfiring a little bit in that he did lose the Hellions because all of the Queens were in the main base, so he was like, all right, that's my cue to go into the third base, but then Banelings were ready, but he still achieved damage, and then from there just kept on applying the same pressure. It feels like at times, Stephano is obviously extremely good, but he definitely plays a very defensive style in that he's not able to really get going with the aggression on the other side of the map. And like a lot of Zergs, they would do that through Zergling run-bys and all that, but in that game, Stephano was definitely the one defending the entire time.
Yeah, that's a really big thing to note as well, because the battlecruisers not only put on that pressure, but when he's building that many Hellions to supplement the early engagements, doing anything with Zerglings is really hard. And then you're building roaches, and you really can't leave your base when, as you said, Todd, he has to constantly defend. We have this man in the Northwest tied things up with some great BC mech play. Can he keep it up? He is SpeCial! What is that he wants to spam? Is that a guitar pick, Todd?
That's a diamond, right?
In the bottom right of Disco Bloodbath. He's the Red Zerg player. Give a cheer for Stephano! Spending our honeymoon with you nerds. Wow.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Wouldn't have it any other way. No, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your magical
We're
moments
honored.
here. In StarCraft 2, we're all one big family if you think about it, so you didn't really get away just yet. But, man,
Roddy
good start to this series.
Yeah, Roddy suggested we should have the Hero Marines busting some moves here.
Should be Hero Marine dancing in the center.
Yeah.
Can we get him in the little Ewok outfit or whatever? I'd like that. I'd
Just
like
look at
a
that
lot.
Home Story Cup.
Yeah.
would be-
Oh, you have to think about it, though. If you were to put Big Gabe in the middle of this map, you wouldn't be able to see anything. You know, you'd have to like create some lore explanation for how you have to fit it on
We would
the
have to
map.
rename it too.
Yeah, because
Big Gabe's Disco.
yeah, you had to get rid of the whole dance floor and just have that whole giant center of the map just be Big Gabe. That's
Well, with the way last game went, I guess SpeCial must have found his confidence again, and that was definitely a crushing defeat here for Stephano. He has to kind of reevaluate how to defend against all of these attacks. I feel like he overextended a little bit at times against, Hellions. It was clear like the Lynx weren't going to do that much. It was like chasing with, I think, like 8 Lynx into like 4 Hellions off creep, so he lost those for free. I feel like these small details, they can add up for sure. Like you would never see guys like Cyril and stuff do this, chase off creep with Lynx when they clearly don't have enough.
the interesting thing about the way that Stephano plays is versus the bio in the games that at least I've been able to see in this tournament is very low tech, right? He wants upgrades, lots of Zerglings, lots of Banelings, to the degree where no matter how many places you're trying to multi-prong harass or drop, Stephano is going to have enough units to deal with all of it without having to get these big techs. He's like, all right, you want to throw away Marines? That's fine. You can keep your medevacs. I don't really care. He has his overwhelming economy, overwhelming army. But by SpeCial playing this style, he's forcing Stephano to do something else. And I think in StarCraft, when you can evaluate the strength of your opponent and you say, well, if Stephano wants to play with a literally 150 Zerglings, I'm not exaggerating, at once on the field, no, you're not trying to do small bio-harass because it just isn't going to work. Playing these mech styles where you can get really cost-effective trades against that cheap strategy is really nice because you're saying, Stephano, you have to play for tech. You have to go for Broodlords and Infestors, and that's not going to be as straightforward. I'm not going to say, whether it's easier or more difficult, but it's not going to be as straightforward as just saying, all right, take the map, get well-upgraded Lings, go for the Hive, get Adrenal Glands, and just rip the Terran player to pieces. Says, no, I've got some other stuff in play. And a Raven opening out of SpeCial, quite unusual. We don't see a ton of this. On this map, it's easy to park the Raven outside the main base and go for auto-turret harass, but it hasn't been as much of a thing since they reduced the damage of the auto-turret, since it now takes 3 hits to kill a drone.
I gotta say, SpeCial, it seems like he really wants to, a lot of Terrans, they are really worried about losing these aliens and stuff, but SpeCial will specifically poke and sometimes go deep with his if he thinks he can achieve damage and actually trade those units for a decent amount of drones. By the way, last game, SpeCial siege, like that big siege pre-Broodlords, was where he had cleared creep just a little bit before. I wonder how long he was playing that attack. And I mean, the right answer is probably weeks ago, but that was very nicely planned here because he went in the one spot where there wasn't that much creep, and even when Stephano tried to go for a surround with the roaches, SpeCial just had so much firepower there that he cleaned up very nicely.
It's a side benefit of how much he was attacking too, right?
Yeah.
The battle cruisers, weirdly enough, with that move while shoot and the low damage, high fire rate, they're actually one of the best creep clearing units. I know that sounds really silly, but you just move command it across the creep, get rid of quite a bit of it. here's that Raven coming in to be annoying. Auto turret. The worst case scenario is that the auto turret just keeps the drones from mining for a little bit. And if the Queen gets into range, it can chunk out a good bit of hit points, but it should be unkillable for the most part. And the Hellion control from SpeCial as well has been really nice, because when you have a player like Stephano, where if he can avoid building roaches, he will, well, those Hellions have opportunities. You get one good shot, center mass, about 20 lings, and you can clear them all out. Suddenly the armory's done, you go for a Hellbat transform. A lot of damage gets in, and this might be a little bit confusing for Stephano. Did we? I don't know that we had an Overlord Scout go in, but it is going to be a bio follow-up.
SpeCial is all over Stephano. He's finding damage left and right here. Actually getting on top of those two queens here. Even the KDA charge helping out against those two queens. So he kills the one queen, 3 drones, and in the meantime, he's left completely undisturbed, unscouted on the other side of the map.
This is really nice, because he does not know for a fact that this is bio, and SpeCial still opened with quite a few Hellions. So maybe when he pokes this ramp and sees the Marines, he'll get an inkling of what's going on. A lot of lings are being made, but I do like this. This is I would call this the SpeCial. He was one of the first players that started doing the Raven camping on the maps where you could, and rightly so, got a lot of people angry.
I thought it was you.
Well, I can't take credit for everything, yo. I'm not going to say that I wasn't the first to do it, but SpeCial was the first one to make it look good. When you can't macro behind your Raven kills, it doesn't really mean a whole lot, tragically.
We got the Baiting Nest on the way. SpeCial will be playing bio this game. And I guess Stephano, by scouting around the wall of the natural, especially saw how many Marines there were, was able to realize that, going for a lot of upgrades.
This is really scary, though, because this comes back to the problem I was talking about before, where, yeah, SpeCial's done a kind of cool build, but Stephano...
He didn't see this move out.
For all intents and purposes, though, he still has a ridiculous number of these forces. I actually wonder if we're going to see a Dorito cannon into these lings. That would actually be really sick. I mean, if he does it on his units, then it's not so good.
Stephano goes for the full surround. There's just the 3 queens. Can he clean up here? Yet it looks like it. I mean, he already has 1-1 upgrades.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the biggest. The big thing is, even though it seemed like there was a little bit of trickery going on in this game, Stephano still has this massive number of lings. Like, he still has a ridiculous number of Zerglings out on the field. And his 2-2 is coming in at a time where he's going to be able to have that upgrade advantage again very soon. The infestation
for a while as well.
And yeah, it's really just a huge factor that he can take those fights without having to have that higher tier of tech. This is what has made Stephano very strong versus players who go bio in this tournament. And as these links come out, it's like, oh, I want to move out with my Marine tank. No, you're going home. You're going back. I have so many Zerglings, it doesn't matter. He gets us around in a siege tank. And these Marines, yeah, you want to keep running away. That's fine. He's got plenty more being built at home. Bit adventurous to take the Banelings off creep, especially with no speed, so...
I think he's overextending here, especially because SpeCial's already ahead in supply, which, I mean, Stephano doesn't necessarily know, but going off creep, it's kind of losing patience, you know? SpeCial's doing the standard Terran thing. He's standing at the edge of the creep, stepping on creep barely, and then as soon as he starts kiting, it feels like Stephano's maybe chasing a little bit too much instead of just kind of massing for as long as he can. We're not going to see the Hive starting. Drilling Claws on the way here for SpeCial, who's still making a tank, but I'm guessing he's going to be going into some Widow Mines momentarily.
I like the Widow Mines. He has the second factory done already. The 4th base is on the way. Stephano wants to go for a big Ling counterattack. And you did a little bit of what you were talking about, definitely in play with some of the potential overextensions. See, he's not going to bring Banelings here. He's just going to run for the natural. He will be able to get in Stephano with a huge run by into SpeCial's economy. The SCVs are on the run, but a huge counter drop at the same time inside of the main base. The spawning pool is under threat. When all you build is Zerglings, that's the most valuable structure that you have. And the Hive is almost done, so that is going to be okay, but SpeCial killing the spawning pool against Stephano. That's the most. That is his weakest point.
Look at Stephano's economy now. He does get some connections here on some of those units, but SpeCial picks up the rest, drops one single Marine at a time to force those Baneling detonations. 18 more Banelings are going to be morphed, and Stephano's back here. He's going to build up. He's going to need to save some lava, I guess, for a while. He's getting some drones, but
it's his only tech. He started an Ultralisk Cavern. He literally can only build Banelings right now. So waiting for that pool to finish up, and then we'll get the Lings out. But you know what? It actually double hurts, though, because with the Hive timing, he could have had adrenal glands well on the way.
SpeCial is moving out. 79 army against 34, and Stephano is seconds away from the spawning pool finishing. He's going to start 48 Zerglings immediately. He needs those right now here.
Does he not have the larva to build anymore? He's still got quite a few resources. Maybe he's waiting for the Ultralisks, but
He has the economy.
He won't have chitinous plating for them, though, and that still is going to be quite difficult. Yeah, he's cranking out lanes. Ultra Scaven's still a little ways away. Does get to push the 4th base off, so that's a nice grab there for Stephano. But the siege up in the main base top, this is a lot of Marines and that tank on the low ground to defend. He's even got Drilling Claw Widow Mines there.
Yeah, SpeCial is making it really difficult for Stephano to actually deal with this once and for all. With that nice siege there. Liberator will move away from that sport. 2 Ultralisks on the way. Chitinous plating now starts, but it takes a while to complete. And Stephano confident enough to start the 3-3. He's like, no, this is no problem. I'm going to deal with this and then have my upgrades.
Playing this style, the upgrades are so important. I don't think he started Adrenal Glands, though. That's, I don't know.
Give the man a break, man. He lost his pull for like for a while. But no, obviously very important upgrades when you have this many links.
Yeah. It's not the type of thing I'd normally harp on, but his army is just Zerglings and Banelings. So the Ultras are going to come out, though, and he will get chitinous. This push from SpeCial, he hasn't actually been able to get up and into the base as much as he maybe would have wanted, because Stephano's been playing this very overwhelming Storm style, and he's got to catch a couple of these mines unburrowed. Some big detonations could hurt. Actually hits all the Marines, though. He lifts up as the tank gets killed and drops straight into the loving arms of those Banelings with his double drop on the bottom side. This is SpeCial trying to stretch the defenses of Stephano. Does he have enough Zerglings to deal with this?
He's going to get the hatchery?
Baited. Oh my God, that hatch is so low. He baited the mine.
It's like, I really want to drop right now, but I can't.
Yeah, there's no way he's going to be able to
He'll be back
those
for
lings. The sequel coming soon. Aw, you hate to see it.
Not today.
Goodbye, mine. Goodbye, little drone. And he's going to get anabolic synthesis behind this with a Spire. And this is where we talk about like the weakness of this style is he doesn't have the dedicated anti-air. So the Medivacs can almost always pull out, but he's been bleeding away a lot of his bio. That's what you're looking for. And I'm, you know what, kind of nervous too, because that Raven is still there. He could try to go for an anti-armor missile if he wants to make a big push with his bio, and that would help a lot against the Ultralisks.
And Stephano really lacks minerals right now. He has a lot of gas. Oh my God, entire missile is going to land on these Ultras. They're going to die so fast. Marines chasing Ultras on creep. You don't get to see this every day, but SpeCial has so much, double the army supply. Oh my God, he's getting cleaved away right now. These Ultras going to town.
Those Ultras get absolutely obliterated by SpeCial. This time, it's he who spams the Dorito on his opponent, stimming over towards the 3rd base. Queen's dropping down. There's not enough Zerglings to defend against this push. And at a 70 supply lead, the Terran feeling so good. Tries to counterattack with the Banelings. SCVs trying to dodge them. And it looks like that base, if he can get a couple of those SCVs past the base, he should be able to save this. GG! SpeCial goes up 2-1 with some fantastic control out of those drops, and very well done with the bio play. Sniping that spawning pool bought him a huge time window to get so much damage in, and we really got to see him flex that Marine split micro too.
Oh yeah, even those SCVs at the end, not letting the Banelings connect. Buying time for the Planetary Fortress to help clean up. SpeCial is saying game 1 was a fluke, and I'm running this show now.
Looking very sharp as this match is heating up, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, the conclusion of SpeCial versus Stephano. welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series. We are here to find out who will walk away with the final circuit trophy of 2019. The future is awesome, and so has this match been already, Todd, heating up, and SpeCial, after an early blow in game one, has ricocheted back into the front of the action.
He's really turned it on. He looked fantastic in those last two games, absolutely in control from start to finish. And you have to question Stephano's game plan, of playing as defensive as he has been. I mean, he did try to go for some Zergling run by. One of those was successful, but really SpeCial, entirely running the show and doing it all really, really well here. Whether it was the controlled aggression, all his macro, which is fantastic. Like, he was ahead in supply. I was looking the whole time. A lot of these games.
That's half the reason.
We find out who is going to do it.
Todd, half the reason we have you here is so you won't sue us for stealing that line from you. Two worlds collide as we move into game number 4 in the Northeast. He's the blue Terran player looking for one more win to advance on. Looking to get that trophy, he is SpeCial. And his opponent in the Southwest, needing to rally back down 1-2 in red. He is Stephano!
That supply won't look at itself.
It certainly won't.
All right, Stephano, I like the way he did the push in game number 1, but other than that, hasn't been able to really gather too much momentum, so he's gonna have to find some aggression somewhere in there, or he's gonna need his defense to be crisper in the first place, because he's definitely taken some damage here and there, lost a couple drones.
Well, the drones were turned to a crisp.
Oh, Nathan. And that spawning pool loss.
Yeah.
You might want to consider specifically where you put your spawning pool.
If you're Stephano.
You see, why does he put it on the right-hand side? That's where we get drops. Put him on the bottom left-hand side. What's gonna come there? And before a BC tactical jump in Yamato at this point, you cannot produce anything for a long time.
It was quite funny. It's not often we get to say in a game like that where it's like, no, the spawning pool is a big target. He's only building Ling Bane all game versus Baya, and killing that pool. The larva count ballooned up, his resources ballooned up. He could not do anything other than turn his already existing Lings into Banelings, but he needed them to defend, and that did not make things easy. Ooh, drone tries to make its way over. I thought he was going to try and run past and get the high ground third base there, but a little bit of hesitation perhaps leads to this Reaper being able to put him into an awkward position, to say the least. You do not want to... You know what? The high yield geyser, it's awesome, Todd, but taking it like this, I just don't know that this is the optimal way. Doesn't really give you a whole lot if you can't get the hatchery there.
Yeah, maybe he was trying to cut a little bit of a corner here and that. You might actually still go for it, knowing Stephano, just to prove a point. You try to stop this, you can't stop it, I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephano, I gotta say, I don't wanna say, he's playing much worse than SpeCial or anything. He's done a lot of things well, but maybe the one thing that's made a big difference is SpeCial's multi-prong harassment and multitask. Last game, he was being very aggressive towards the main base. Stephano focused all of his defense there, and then suddenly there was a drop in the fourth base, killing drones left and right, and almost sniping that hatchery. He needs to see those attacks coming a little bit better, but obviously that's extremely hard. SpeCial went through the avenues where there was no creep and all that, and we just saw a big cancel there.
Yeah, interesting that, was he going to go for some sort of aggressive play off of that? I guess the world will never know now. As a Viking starts, he built all of his tech in his natural. It's not the craziest thing to try and go for those wall-offs, but you do put yourself a little bit at risk because the add-ons can be vulnerable to low-ground siege, something like roaches or ravagers. Since that's not going to be the choice for Stephano, it's not the end of the world. Fusion core is on the way, so we're going to be seeing some more cattle are going to be bruised, Todd.
Oh, yeah. Just how I like to see it.
In this case, the queens become the cattle in this relationship as you try to hold on against the battlecruiser onslaught. The starport in the natural I like, though, because oftentimes if the Zerg is like, well, where is everything going to be? He already went to the front, right? But you'd think in the main base, but there's actually nothing in the main other than SpeCial's economy. So being a little bit cheeky with where things are laid out. I also went for 3 Reapers this game. Worth noting, if you can get a couple of good boops on the Queens, maybe isolate 1 or 2 of them, then there is always going to be that potential that you can snipe 1 or 2. And he did get an early Queen kill with just the Reaper Hellion on Disco Bloodbath, so that was really nice. And this might be a second Overlord kill for the Viking. That would be a really nice pickup, but not today, it would seem. He's going to the natural, though, Todd. There's a lot of Hellions. Can the Zerglings do the defense all on their own? A couple of drones trying to come out and body block, but, oh no, they're on the run. You gotta be so careful about them lining up. He heads into the main base. He's fully committed. 22 Zerglings are on the way to try and help stop this Evolution Chamber build in the mineral line to prevent the Hellions from being able to path around them. Now, this is the chance. He boops him with the Reaper. The drones are in danger. 6 picked off so far by SpeCial. Gets another volley up. Almost 10 workers killed. Very well done. And that battlecruiser is about to arrive too, Todd.
Oh, that could have been so much worse as well. Stephano really, with some fantastic moves here. That Evo Chamber and SpeCial finding a way to push that Queen out of the way so he could get in there. If that hadn't happened, he actually would have killed even less. And now the first battlecruiser is about to finish. We've got 2 more factories on the way, an armory as well, and Stephano starts lair tech.
We jumping in, boys. There we go. The Viking lands too. You know what? That extra little bit of DPS against the Queen is pretty gnarly. Look at that boy go. He had dreams of living on the ground. He's dead now, but man, that assist, very useful actually to help pepper down that Queen. Every little bit of damage counts so much when you're dealing with battle cruisers, especially before the reinforcement Queens are allowed to arrive.
SpeCial is ahead in walkers right now.
That 6 drone pickoff after the 9 from the Hellions, absolutely beautiful. And when you're playing this style, Stephano likes Zerglings. He loves Zerglings.
And it feels like he's losing patience. He was going to go across the map with Zerglings, gets caught by Hellions. Stephano not throwing down a Roach Warren.
And that's the thing, Stephano doesn't want to build roaches. He's been, his whole game has been about the Lings. That's what we've seen all tournament long. But SpeCial playing a carefully crafted sort of strategy that requires Stephano to rely on some stonkier units. And since those Zerglings are not going to be cost-effective for him, building an overwhelming mass of Lings does not help when your opponent knows how to properly position those Hellions and get those big area of effect attacks splashing all over those units.
All right, finally these Hellions are going to get sniped, but there's going to be more, mate, and they'll be back with a revenge. 58 SCVs to 57 drones here as Stephano tries to crank out as many more of those as he can. He's adding on additional Queens as well, knowing he's going to have to deal with some air units. And there is indeed going to be more battle cruisers, Yamato cannon on the way. SpeCial's getting every upgrade here that he's going to need here with his blue flame, backfill accelerator, the +1 attack for vehicle weapons.
Weapon refit, getting the Yamato out there, everything that he could possibly need. And then we think about what we have on this map too, Todd, and I'm gonna be honest with you. The fact that there's no tech says to me that Stephano may be considering just trying to go for some straight up attack. And I don't know how that's gonna work. If he's not gonna play for Spire and he's not building more Queens, how exactly is he gonna be able to deal with the battle cruisers continuing to apply this pressure all game? 11 Queens is a nice amount, but I'm just, I'm wondering what the next step is, whether it's a Hydralisk Den that I don't think that that's a good option versus battlecruisers, or it's a Spire or an Infestation Pit. But the next step has not been revealed to us yet in this situation. These battlecruisers are going to continue to bully, and if he makes sure to be aware of what's happening on this map, more roaches are being made. He's going to have to bring everything forward. I'm waiting for the March of the Penguins, the Queens, to just move out on the map and try to make this attack. If SpeCial sniffs this out, he should be building siege tanks. The Cyclone Hellion is not going to be great at defending against this, but actually clearing any creep tumors out is huge, because I do think if Stephano wants to go for an all-in attack, he's going to need something that can deal with those battle cruisers. But
oh my God.
Counterattack even these Hellions getting all the drones.
Every single time SpeCial is somewhere with his army, there is always a little bit more of an attack elsewhere, really doing a ton. Those battle cruisers here, all they have to do is not get piled on top of, and they're going to deal with this ground army so well. Stephano getting chased back. That got shut down real fast. He was like, oh, I'm finally going to attack. And SpeCial's like, no, actually, no, get off my lawn.
No Queens, no Corruptors, no problem. Those battle cruisers will happily float over those Roach Ravager and blow them to smithereens. That's what I was talking about. So Stephano in a very uncomfortable position now. This game has been borderline perfect for SpeCial. Everything has happened the way that he has orchestrated. He's been able to get damage done with his Hellions. He's gotten damage done with his BCs. He was able to defend with the BCs. The Infestation Pit, extremely late considering the circumstances of this game. So even if you were to try and go for Infestors or try to rush up to Hive, by the time we even get close, those battlecruisers are going to come by and push a few more times, and then you're going to be Yamatoing 1, 2, 3 queens per push. Fourth one on the way as well.
Do you think? Okay, I was going to say, what is Stephano preparing here? Is it a big push? Like he did go for the Infestation Pit earlier, but wasn't really using it for anything. Now we see the Spire and Pathogen Glands starting. It feels like Stephano maybe couldn't make up his mind here for a while. How many drones have died this game?
He wanted to make that big attack with the Roach Ravager. He just didn't have anything to deal with the BCs, and he still doesn't. These battlecruisers might be able to end the game shortly. The Spire is very far away.
They're doing a ton of damage.
The Queen Transfuse will not be enough in this situation. These BCs are going to kill everything here.
And Stephano's setting up for a counterattack with his Grand Army. I think he's trying to force those battlecruisers to use tactical jump back home to try and defend.
And that should work. There are siege tanks back at the base for SpeCial. I don't know that there's going to be enough to defend against this.
Oh my God. He's ready this time.
With that wall, yeah, he's fine. That 5 siege tanks with that much in front of it, he is not going to be able to break that. And things are looking dire for Stephano as the battlecruisers rip that hatchery to smithereens. Now, some Lings are able to get inside of that third base, so a little bit of multitasking going to be required to keep too much damage from happening. And he's trying to go for a 360-degree surround. He's got those units on the north side coming in from the southeast, the west, every which way. But I do not believe it's going to be enough. Stephano dropping under 100 supply as SpeCial's tanks blast away at the forces of the Zerg player. 8 Infestors are on the way, but they're not going to be out in time. GG! SpeCial advances on to the semifinals with a 3-1 victory over Stephano. Meticulously played, perfect build choice, and the execution, Todd, flawless. Those battle cruisers are going to be haunting the nightmares of Zerg players for quite some time to come. Absolutely amazingly played series. I cannot wait to hear what SpeCial has to say. Let's hear from the man himself on the stage with Cloakin.
Thanks so much, Nathan. That's right. Congratulations, SpeCial. You move on to the round of 4 against Stephano, a sort of StarCraft 2 legend. Did that go the way you expected? Obviously, it took you a bit to get your footing there in game 1. Would love to hear your thoughts.
I don't know. I feel game 1, he kind of played very well, and I played really, really bad. After the initial play, I lost 2 Banshees for free, so I couldn't defend that. And normally, how I should defend that is going back to my natural, but I just didn't even think of that, and I stayed there, so I lost. But I don't know. I think after game 2, I felt like if I just play a little bit longer game, I should be able to win. So
yeah, absolutely. It seemed like he didn't have a solution there for your battlecruiser pressure, and you were on all sides, so it was really well played. Okay, so talk to us. You move forward, round of 4. It looks like you're going to take on the winner of Raynor Elazer. Do you have any thoughts about that matchup? Are you have a preferred opponent? What are your thoughts?
I think Elazer will be a little bit easier because Raynor is pretty good against Terran, and these maps are quite good for Zerg. But I don't know, Elazer's been playing well lately. He went to the GSL World Final. He beat Serral some games, and here he did well as well. So I don't know, it will be a close match maybe, I think.
All right, well, good luck as you move on. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for SpeCial. All right, Kalaris, we're back to you, my man.
That's right, SpeCial dispatching of Stephano there after the 3-1 victory. He moves on to another round of 4 here in WCS Fall as he's able to dismantle what Stephano was throwing at him. It wasn't completely clean cut. Stephano did get his foot in the door. However, his road comes to an end, and that now means, Rotterdam, we have a guaranteed top 8 going to the global final.
Yes, that is correct. That dream is that. I mean, that's a story we didn't really want to build up. Stephano making it this far was already amazing by itself. But yeah, very well played by Juanito. I thought it was a pretty interesting series, especially that final game. I thought we had some really cool moves. But I think game 3 was really important, obviously. Disco Bloodbath. And I felt that Bio against, Lingbane, I felt Stephano, if you're going to win this series, that's a game that he must win.
Yep.
And that's a good map normally for Stephano's style, I would say as well. But maybe got a little over-eager a couple of times when he was defending defending, chased very far back off. And I was like, well, maybe with the upgrades, maybe with bailing speed finishing up, but I feel like right before he could ever get some momentum going, SpeCial always found some damage, and I think the series kind of ended there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like, I think that is the right way to put it. Like every time it felt like maybe Stephano was getting his footing underneath him, like SpeCial would come out with something. So on Disco Bloodbath, you know, right before you could actually get enough flings, also feel comfortable countering and run buying, that spawning pool went down to that really brutal position on that map. And it never really seemed to be a situation where Stephano could actually do what he wanted, as well as he wanted to anyway. SpeCial was always forcing him to respond.
Few cute micro tricks. I enjoyed the evolution chamber block into the queen block, and I'm like, oh, he's playing so well. And then the grenade comes in. Oh, I loved it.
That's super cool. It's like one of those little nerd moments where you're like, whoa, they're both playing so well. Let's go. Oh, that was awesome.
Definitely so. A great round of 8 match for sure. Let's take a look at the bracket here that's unfolding through WCS Fall, as we have SpeCial confirming himself in the round of 4 already to start off the day. A bit quicker than I was expecting, to be honest. I thought the series might have gone a little bit longer, but we have plenty more series to come, of course, not least with our next ZVZ coming up. But again, you know, everybody remaining now, they're all the guys that have been able to qualify for that top 8 and then move even further. So it's extremely stacked once again for Rotterdam.
It really is. And what a year this has been for SpeCial so far. I think over the last 2 years, it was already in like 2017, you know, when you had the year of Neep. It felt like Neep was preventing him from winning a tournament. Last year, it felt like Sarah was preventing him from winning a tournament. But he still had his moments where sometimes he would lose a little bit earlier. This year, he feels really consistent. It does really feel that SpeCial has leveled up his gameplay even more. And no, he's not the top 2, but he's probably like the top 4. I mean, like Neep, SpeCial, the 2 Zergs. I'm very, very impressed by Juanito. He's really bringing his gameplay to another level.
Yeah, just echo the same statements. He is performing very well, and he certainly needs to level up because, again, maybe the Rainer a laser potential, like maybe that's something he's totally feeling comfortable with.
Sure.
But then the Serral is always that big roadblock at the potential finals. Yeah, so he needs to be leveled up.
Yeah, definitely so. All right, well, thank you very much, guys. It's time now to go to a short break here for WCS Fall, and when we return, it's ZVZ. Mr. Rainer, our current reigning WCS circuit champion, goes up against a laser.